Hello and welcome back. So in this video I want to explain what are availability sets and availability zones. How do they work? What's the difference between availability set and availability zones? All right. So this is the agenda. Let's get started. Now, first let's try to understand what are availability sets and availability zones. Both of them are high availability options for virtual machines. Okay, so you create virtual machines, and on top of it you host your application. Okay, let me quickly head to the whiteboard to explain what that I mean. Okay, I'll get back to this later. All right, so you go ahead and create a VM on Azure, right? So you create a VM here, uh, virtual machine. On top of this virtual machine, obviously you want to host your application runs here. Okay, application, okay, it runs here. Now this application, you want this application to be always available to your customer, don't you, right? You don't want this to go down. Okay, let's say your application is URL is www.xyz.com. Okay, you want this application to be always available. You don't want this to go down. So that's called high availability. You always want it to be available, highly available. Okay, that's what high availability is. Now let's get back to this. Now, so they are high availability options for virtual machines. This AV sets and AV zones, or availability sets and availability zones, both of them are high availability options for virtual machine. Let me go down to Azure portal and show you how does it look like when you go ahead and try to create a VM. Okay, so here I am on Azure portal and I click on create virtual machine, and once I do that, there you go. I give the subscription and the resource group name, and then I give the VM name here, let's say test VM, and let's keep the region same. So you see here availability options. Under availability options you see availability zone, availability set. All right, you also see virtual machine scale set. I'll explain what this is in another video, but for this let's keep it to availability zone and availability set. So both of them, as you can see, are highly high availability options for virtual machines. Okay, so let's see what Azure portal is describing them as. So availability set, Azure says automatically distribute your VMs across multiple fault events. Okay, and explain that in detail to you. And then to availability zone, Azure describes it as physically separate your resources within a region. All right, perfect. So now, as I said, they are both highly available options for VMs. Now let's see what is an AV set. When you place VMs in AV availability set, what happens is Azure spreads them across fault domain and update domains. Now you might be wondering what is fault domain and update domain. Okay, for that let me come back to here and show you this diagram. Okay, perfect. I already have this built now. So as you can see on the screen, this is a fault domain 1 and fault domain 2. So what I mean by fault domain is, so as we know that in a data center comprises of racks, right, which are almirah like structure. As you can see here, this is almirah like structure. This on this rack, these are the servers. Okay, the horizontal ones, these are the servers. Okay, so now what Azure does behind the scenes is that it 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 segregates these servers or these racks into different power sources or different sockets. Okay, so this fault domain 1 is getting power from this socket. Okay, this is the power connectivity to these servers, and for these fault domain 2, this is the power source. Now why does it do like this? It does like this. Azure segregates this to ensure that there is no single point of failure for all the racks in their data center. Okay, for some reason even this power source goes down. Okay, only these two racks are impacted. Okay, these two are safe. Okay, that's the reason of it. And also in the similar fashion, it ensures that the networking is configured in a way that if something goes down or goes wrong, only these two racks are impacted and these are safe. So that's fault domain. Okay, segregating and their servers or racks on the basis of hardware uh, failure. Okay, on the probability of hardware failure. If something goes wrong, only these two are impacted. And if something goes wrong from the perspective of power, network connectivity, or cooling, only these two racks are impacted. Now that's fault domain. And update domain is, so Azure dynamically places the virtual machines that we create in availability sets into different fault domains and update domains. So let me explain you what update domain is. Okay, so update domain is, we know these servers have OS running on them, or even before OS, Microsoft has got its own virtualization software that's running. So when Microsoft updates or Azure updates these racks or servers with the patches, okay, when it patches these servers, okay, it patches them in batches. Okay, so let's say only when it in the round one, it only patches update domain 0, update domain 0, all these update domain 0. Okay, it won't do it all together. Okay, once that's done, once they're successful, then it moves ahead and patches update domain 1 and update domain 1. Okay, so the intention of doing this is to ensure that, not, if something goes wrong, not all update domains are impacted at once. Okay, so that's the underlying motive and intention behind this. So now, what happens when we place a VM in availability zone, or sorry, availability set, is that it distributes our virtual machine across these fault domains and update domains to ensure that, even if one fault domain goes down. Okay, let's say, let me explain you this. So let's say if I create a VM, okay, from portal, this VM will be placed on VM1, is will be placed on, let's say if I create two VMs and I put them in an availability set. So what will happen is, there is a probability, or in fact there is a surety, that for the first VM, Azure will place it on this fault domain 1. Okay, and the second VM, it will place it on this. Okay, let me point this on this fault domain 2. Okay, so VM1 will go and sit on fault domain 1, and VM2 will go ahead and sit on fault domain 2. Okay, so even if fault domain 1 goes down for some reason, the VM2 is running on fault domain 2. That's the intention. Okay, and similarly, it will spread the VM1 on update domain 0 and VM2 on update domain 1. Okay, so that's how it is. Even if some update is rolled out, and that update unfortunately has broken the way the Azure is working, then only that impact is limited to only that update domain. Okay, and update domain 1 is not impacted. So that's what availability set is. So when we place virtual machines on availability set, Azure spread them across fault domains and update domains to ensure that they are not impacted due to hardware failure and software failure. Right, so that's an availability set. Now you might be wondering, what is availability zone then? Okay, so availability zone is so as we know that a region has multiple availability zones. Okay, so availabilities, so within a region there are multiple data centers. Okay, let's say if East US is a region. Okay, East US is a region, then in East US there would be three data centers within that East US region. Okay, which would be spread across few miles away, and each data center can be called as an availability zone. Okay, so when we place VMs in availability zones, Azure spread them across multiple availability zone. It may keep one VM here and second VM here. So the intention is, if one data center goes down for some reason, the VM is up and running on second availability zone, second data center. Okay, so uh, both of them provides high level availability, but from different perspective and for different strategies. Okay, now let's see what the difference between availability set and availability zones. Okay, when should you use them? Okay, so availability set and availability zone. So availability set has got something called SLA, which stands for service level agreement. Okay, so when you place virtual machines in availability set, Azure guarantees that you would get 99.95% of availability. That means in a month it can only have 22 minutes of downtime. Okay, for most of the business scenarios this would be enough, but you have a requirement where you need more SLA than this, then you might want to move to availability zone and put your VM in availability zone, and that will give you 99.99%. That means you'll have less than 5 minutes of downtime in a month. Okay, so yeah, it depends on your business requirement, what's the SLA, or what kind of availability you're looking for your application, and then you may want to go ahead and take a call. So that's about availability set and availability zone in a nutshell. Hope this was informative, and now I'm sure you are in a position to describe what availability is set and zone are, and what's the difference between each of them, and how to and when to use them. Right, thank you so much. See you on the next video.